Tonight, for the first time, President Obama's aunt, who for years lived in this country illegally, is telling her story. I'm Lisa Hughes.
And I'm Jack Williams. Zituni Onyango lives in South Boston in public housing. She's unemployed. She collects disability. And insisting her nephew never pulled any strings for her. Recently, she sat down for an exclusive interview with Jonathan Elias. And Jonathan, she's not making any apologies.
Jack, she makes none. In fact, she's very fiery. The mention of her name makes many in Boston angry. Angry because she is living off of a system that she's never paid into. Angry because she is from a family that is now very wealthy, yet she remains a burden to Massachusetts taxpayers.
If I come as an immigrant, you have the obligation to make me a citizen.
This is President Obama's aunt, a woman many say is the poster child of our broken immigration system. We only found out about her back in 2008. It was the weekend before the November election. Democratic presidential nominee, Senator Barack Obama, started getting questions about his aunt. Zituni Onyango of Kenya, an illegal immigrant living in public housing in Boston.
You're here illegally. And he's running for the President of the United States. That's what I'm saying is.
Listen, Obama did not know my whereabouts.
For the first time, Zituni is setting the record straight, sitting down with me for this interview. She had come to the United States in 2000 and says she had every intention of going back to Kenya. But she says she got sick and spent time in a hospital and nearly died.
To me, Americans' dream became my Americans' worst nightmare.
Why?
Because of what I have gone through.
Tell me what you've gone through.
That is a hell of a lot. Hell of a lot.
She became political fodder intended to hurt her nephew. She also became a focal point of anger. How could Zituni be here illegally for years, living in government housing?
Have been treated like public enemy number one.
In 2004, Zituni was ordered out of the country by an immigration judge. She didn't leave.
Did you know that you were staying in this country illegally?
I knew I had stayed.
She says once she got out of the hospital, she lived in a homeless shelter for nearly 2 years, and then was assigned public housing despite thousands of legal residents also waiting for that kind of assistance.
How do you respond to those families that would say, why is she getting anything?
Listen, let me tell you. I don't mind. You can take that house. I can even be on the streets with homeless people. I didn't ask for it. They gave it to me. And you better just ask the system. Ask your system. I didn't create the system.
And she's right, but not apologetic. When news of Zituni broke, it was of national interest. How could she be living here so long illegally?
There are people that need assistance who have been paying into the system, and they've waited in line, and they've waited their turn, and then somebody like you, they say, comes along, and you never waited in line, and you never paid into the system, and yet you took advantage of the system.
I did not take any advantage of the system. The system took advantage on me.
When I asked her how she sees it that way, all she would say is,
I don't want to go into details. It's not going to help me. It's not going to help you.
She says she was diagnosed disabled by a doctor back in 2004. So in addition to public housing, she tells me she's been receiving and living off disability checks of nearly $700 a month. But how has she been able to stay?
I, Barack Hussein Obama.
In 2009, Obama was sworn in. Zituni was invited and attended the inauguration. The question is, did her nephew influence an immigration judge to change his mind? Because in 2004, that judge ordered her out. This past May, that same judge granted her asylum.
No influence at all from nobody, from nowhere. Don't drag my child into this.
If not influence, then how about money? She says she's broke, yet hired a prominent immigration attorney in Cleveland.
How can you afford a lawyer when you say you have nothing?
When you believe in Jesus Christ and you start Almighty God, my help comes from heaven.
I think a lot of people would like that same source to pay their bills as well.
Yeah, you better believe.
And that's who's been paying your legal bill?
Yep. Even my food.
Heaven.
Yeah.
You heard her refer to President Obama as her child. She does that a number of times. It is worth noting that she has not been sitting around for all these years. She does tell me that she has been active volunteering with a number of organizations, including the Boys and Girls Club and even the Boston Public Housing. Now, tomorrow night, part 2 of my exclusive interview, we're going to take a closer look at her relationship right now with her nephew, President Obama, and I ask her why he hasn't helped her get off public assistance, and also why the judge changed his mind and allowed her to stay in the United States after he already once said she had to go. Jack?
All right, Jonathan, thank you. And by the way, you can watch tonight's interview again at WBZTV.com. And tomorrow, after part 2, we'll post much more of Zaytouni Onyango's Sit Down with Jonathan. You can search Obama's aunt. She says she deserves to be here, living off our money. Now the immigration controversy surrounding President Obama's aunt is an issue in the governor's race. I'm Jack Williams.
And I'm Lisa Hughes. Zaytouni Onyango lived illegally in Boston for years before she was granted asylum. She recently talked, and only with our Jonathan Elias. Jonathan, her nephew, the president, most powerful man in the world, but it doesn't look like he's doing anything to get her off public assistance.
Lisa, from what I gather, he's done nothing to get her off public assistance, but he is the reason that she was granted asylum after she'd been living here illegally for many years. Now, all this time, she has been a burden to taxpayers, and that hasn't changed with her nephew moving into the White House.
President Obama, I'm his aunt. If he does the wrong thing, I'm the only person on earth allowed to pinch his ears and smack him. An auntie is a very honored person in African culture.
That may be, but in the United States, she has not been the revered auntie. When it was discovered that for years she'd been living as an illegal immigrant in Boston in public housing. Then candidate Barack Obama was having to answer some tough questions about his Auntie Zaytouni.
Would you support her being deported to Kenya?
If she has violated laws, then those laws have to be obeyed.
Did you know that you were staying in this country illegally?
I knew I had overstayed.
Zaytouni Onyango knew she wasn't supposed to be in the United States, yet she was.
It's a great country. It's nice to live here. You can do whatever you want when you're here.
And she has. 2005, she was there when her nephew was sworn in as a U.S. Senator. 2009, she was there when Barack Obama was sworn in as President of the United States. All while her status was that of an illegal immigrant who'd been asked twice to leave the country.
What does the United States owe you?
Nothing. And I owe them nothing.
But it's given you so much.
So? It's a free country. Country under God.
Not exactly free. Zaytouni has been costing Massachusetts taxpayers thousands of dollars between her housing and her disability checks. But she doesn't see it that way.
This country is owned by Almighty God, and you people are the people who are preaching Jesus Christ, Almighty God, and all the rest of it. You are here to help people, help the poor, help other countries, and take care of women.
That's what the United States is supposed to do.
And you have to give me my right like any other person's right.
She says her relationship with her nephew is close, but she says she's not been invited to the White House.
I don't have any business in Washington, D.C., in the White House. I don't have. Why should I? Jesus, don't I have any other things to do?
She says President Obama has not helped in her fight to gain asylum, nor has he stepped in to help financially to get her off public assistance.
I'm not the president's obligation.
But having the president as her nephew has helped. In her most recent request for asylum, the same judge that 6 years ago ordered her out of the country granted her asylum. The reason for the change? Quoting the ruling here, because of her relationship to President Obama, she will be a target if she is removed to Kenya.
Do you want to become an American citizen?
If I didn't want, why the hell have I been here all this time? Can I ask you that?
So I tried to explain our system in very basic terms, but listen how she responds.
If we had 10 people standing around, and there was an agreement by all of them, and they all put $10 in to buy something or pay for something, a service, and an 11th person came in from somewhere else who never paid a dime, is that person...
That's luck.
So the person that comes in who never paid a dime into a system, but yet gets to take advantage of that system?
That's God's miracles. Don't you believe in miracles?
You don't think it's unfair?
It's not unfair.
Now, just a short time ago, I spoke with Zaytouni on the phone. She told me that she is getting flooded with requests to talk, but she says she will not. She doesn't want people, she does not want anybody out there to be angry with her, but rather to turn their anger towards the system. She did say that she is grateful to the system, grateful to Boston, and grateful to her neighbors in South Boston. Lisa?
Jonathan, thank you. We have put much more of Zaytouni Onyengo's interview online. All you have to do is search Obama's aunt at WBZTV.